All right, everyone, welcome back to the Wall Street Rundown. Hey, this is your daily dose or weekly dose, I say, of market insights, earnings highlights, and trade-worthy catalysts. I'm your co-host, Billy. I have my co-host, Wale, with me. What's going on, Wale?
Not much, man. How you doing?
Man, today is just like, it was a blah day for me, honestly. Like, I didn't really do too much. This whole week has been a blah week for me.
Mm,
And I don't like to trade when like there's no like a clear momentum. But
yeah.
we did see some stock kind of either drop back or pull back a lot. So, well, today is Wednesday, June 4th, and we've got a couple of things that we want to talk about. CrowdStrike, their earnings was stellar, but they still dropped. You know what I mean? So we'll talk a little bit about that. We also talk about some of the other ones like Meta's AI ads, CRWV, which is I think it's CrowdWave, right? Is it
Core
CrowdWave?
weave.
CoreWeave. Man, if you see that stock is running like crazy. And again, our boy Elon is back in the news again. This man cannot keep his mouth shut. Messing up my leaps, man. But he's back in the news again, slamming the spending bill that is going to add like about 2.1 trillion or something like that to the deficit, and he's saying that this is the um largest ever being added to the American debt at one time. I mean, he kind of defeat the purpose, right, with the whole Doge thingy, and then for the government to turn around and spend more money. It's like it just is crazy, right? But on today, the S&P kind of pulled back a little bit. We see a little bit of pullback today, closing at 53.25. The Nasdaq dropped a little bit also. The Dow Jones was a little up at 0.15%. So we've seen a little bit of rise in there. The other thing also that I'm seeing is the 10-year yield rose to 4.42%. So there's still some cautious coming up, and we have the payroll, the non-farm payroll coming up. I think it's on Friday.
Friday before market open. Yep.
So that's going to be interesting to see. I mean, I don't think normally we pay attention to non-farm payroll, but this is going to be interesting one to pay attention to. But yeah, man, let's tackle these things one at a time. Let's talk about CrowdStrike, man. Like, so they reported. Well, first of all, before we even do that, man, give us your like outlook on this week, man. Like, what do you think? Where are we going and all of that stuff?
Yeah, this week, I'll be honest, it's more of a wait and see approach because I think the job number will give us an idea of what the Fed will do at their next meeting, which is
Yep.
scheduled for the 18th. Well, 17th and 18th, but the press conference and everything comes out on the 18th.
Yep.
Probably going to still hold rates. Again, the inflation data hasn't shown anything to scare the market as far as tariffs are concerned. So, so far so good. But the question is, will it eventually show up? And I think that that's what everybody is waiting to see. Um, that eventually will we start to see the effects of tariffs in the summer data
Mm-hmm.
of Q2. So for me, again, really slow trading week for me too. I think I made two trades, one bad trade, one really good trade today on Tesla puts. But aside from that, I've kind of got a wait and see attitude. As far as CrowdStrike is concerned, it did hit an all-time high yesterday at $491. This is one that I regret selling. I think we caught that drop from, I think when they, and last year, August 5th, when the
Yep.
whole market dropped
Yep.
and I went really heavy with leaps and that thing ran back. And this is one that I regret holding. Now, I will say this, that this pullback, I kind of like it. And I might actually look to build a long-term position
Yep.
of stocks because I still feel that them and Palo Alto Networks are probably the top two cybersecurity companies out there. So this might give me an opportunity to get into CrowdStrike at a better price. I would like to see it below 450.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that dip got bought today, I may not
You
get that
got bought
opportunity. Yeah.
right away. You got bought right away. So,
So
but the numbers was nice though. Like the
yeah, the
revenue
numbers
rose
were
like,
good. The
yeah,
numbers were good.
revenue was like 20% year over year. EPS came in higher, beating the expectation of 0.66. It came in like 7.73.
Yeah.
They have a lot of free cash flow, which is crazy. Like I think they hit a record of like $384 million is cash flow. You know what I mean? That's crazy.
And I think the
Um,
reason why it might have sold off is because if you look at where it traded into the earnings report, it took off.
mhm,
Like,
mhm.
it went from like 405 to like 490 in like 2 weeks.
Yep. And also
So,
the guidance for Q2 came in and look a little slow, a little bit low, but it wasn't even that much. It was like literally like a little below. So I don't know if
Correct.
that was another reason to kind of drop. So
Yeah, I believe that as well. But I still like it as a company. If
yep.
I've been saying Palo Alto and Crowd are the two to me in the cybersecurity world that if you're going to play that be in that sector, those would be my two favorites. One thing I'm not sure about is if any of them are going to grow through acquisition.
Mm.
I think that there needs to be some consolidation in the cybersecurity world, and I wonder if any of those, if one of them will start to acquire some of these smaller companies that are sitting
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah. I have a prediction what's gonna happen is, I mean, one, CrowdStrike just they launched a new AI-based security features, right? So that's gonna
Hmm.
be more like targeting toward making sure AI is secure and all this stuff. But I do have a prediction that a lot of those smaller cybersecurity companies are gonna move into more AI-based cybersecurity and making
Hmm.
sure like they protect from all the problems that's gonna come with AI, right?
Sure.
Because those are gonna create its own set of unique issues,
Yep.
security that's gonna come up with it. So I think ultimately you're going to see consolidation in the market because everybody's going to be doing the same thing. And what's the point of like, if a big dog can swallow a small dog, let's just do it. You know what I mean? So I can acquire all your customers. Now I have a bigger business. So I do see some consolidation coming, in those cybersecurity companies for sure.
There's two companies that have been on a monster run in the last, I'd probably say like month or 2 months. If you look up Cloudflare, their net is their symbol. Go look at that chart going back to about March. And
Yep.
then also look at Zscaler.
Zscalers is another one. ZS. Yep.
So those two are some of the smaller players. And man, if you look at the run they've been on the last couple months,
It's been
that's a
ridiculous.
pretty hefty run. And one of the things that I noticed too was right, even when we had the Liberation Day drop off, those two companies kind of held their weight. Like they didn't get
Mhm.
hit that hard.
Mhm.
So I'm still a believer in the cybersecurity space being one of the longer term trajectory sectors that's going to go hand in hand with the AI story, in my opinion.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we shall see, man. How's that going to affect the market and all that? So it's going to be interesting if when we see some more consolidation and all this stuff. Next up, let's talk about this Meta automating ads with AI. So Meta is now using AI to fully automate ad creation for small businesses. So the platform they'll generate the ad image for you. They'll copy and audience targeting automatically. So there's no longer a person is going to be doing that. I don't know what's the adoption rate is going to be on that, but
Hmm.
we shall see. I mean, AI is doing some amazing stuff right now. So all of those tools that Meta is providing for small businesses now, if you're in the ad marketing space, I don't know, man. AI is coming for your job. I'm sorry.
And you know what's crazy? A lot of times when companies are looking to cut budgets and to cut spending, usually the first place they start is marketing,
Yep. Yep.
which
So
is unfortunate if you're
yeah,
in that space. But
yeah,
yeah, Facebook is going to start using, pretty much automation to
yeah,
generate ads now.
yep.
And we'll see what the adoption rate is, but I would not be surprised if it's very, very, very high.
Yeah. I mean, if you guys see the trending AI images and videos that's being created right now, it's crazy realistic how it looks like. You know what I mean? And you can literally create it in a matter of seconds. All you need is a prompt. Just tell it what do you want. We'll generate a sample for you. We'll do the audio for you. We'll do the transcription for you. We'll do music, anything. You can edit it. You can go back. It's like having a conversation with a person and the result is showing up right in front of you in real
Hmm.
time.
Yep.
Crazy. Now, will small businesses actually be able to dedicate time to do that, or will they need somebody else to do that? Or is Meta trying to take that position now where you can contact Meta and be like, hey, I'm trying to create an ad for this. Can you guys help me? You guys can charge me for it. You know what I mean? So it's like now as an ad agency or a marketing agency, you now have to pivot, right? Because now you got to figure out how could you help small businesses be able to, pivot into this, and would you become that person that will create those ads for them? So I don't know, man. We'll see how it's going to affect the market, man, because it's just a lot.
Yeah, and I've seen some of the videos and capabilities of, you know, what it can do. I don't know the exact programs or systems that people are using, but some of these, I mean,
It's
It's getting out of
ridiculous.
it's getting out of hand.
Yep, yep. And
Yeah.
I don't know, are they going to charge for it, or is that going to be like as part of Meta?
Oh, I think they're going to charge for it for sure.
So,
Oh, I think they're going to
so
charge for it for sure. I'm still trying to figure out if they're ever going to stop funding that whole metaverse project that they were talking about years ago. Because
yeah,
if I'm
yeah,
not mistaken, they had sunk billions and billions of billions
yep,
and billions of dollars into that project. And I'm
yep.
wondering if this is going to be part of their full pivot into AI and kind of scrap that whole like metaverse thing that they even changed the company name for.
For it, yeah, exactly, exactly. Now that I think the metaverse is too early. The reason why I say that is because we haven't seen a use case for it just yet, right? I
Hmm.
think eventually it's gonna come back later on, but it's like I think it's just too early now. People don't know what to do with it. Like, okay, metaverse, put the glasses on, I'm talking to somebody. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what is the use case for it? I think once they figure out what the use case is, I promise you, I think that thing's gonna take off.
So one thing I did see when they were doing commercials on TV, I saw a use case of a medical student practicing a surgery in the metaverse. That to me is a good thing because you can practice something that's very, very sensitive
Right,
in a very controlled environment without having to necessarily sacrifice, not necessarily sacrifice, but at the cost of an actual human body.
right, right, right.
So if I am a dentist or if I am a medical student and I want to practice my skills, if they can use augmented reality for people to practice and practice and practice on, that's a good thing. I
Yeah.
heard another thing that they've used it for is Jaden Daniels, quarterback for Washington Commanders. He uses it to read plays. So
Oh wow,
augmented reality
nice.
to read plays to for reaction time and things like that and stuff like that. So I think there are small use cases for it.
Yeah.
You might be right. Maybe they're a little bit too early. Um, I think it can have a niche market. I don't think it's going to be like a big thing like AI is. I think AI is going to be real
Yep.
big. I think the
Yep.
metaverse will have select niche markets that maybe they can use it for. So
But
yeah, we'll see.
I don't think it's worth it though. If it's gonna be only specific niche market, I
I mean,
honestly
they they
I don't think
changed they
it's worth
changed the
it.
whole company
Yeah.
and called it
I
Meta.
I think they need to figure out the larger use case for it, because this I don't see this product as a B2B type of product. I see it as a B2C. Like I want, like you want more customers, you want more consumers to use it. That's how
Sure.
you're gonna get more buck for your bank. Because
Yeah.
if you give it to the hospitals, I mean, how many medical students you realistically gonna have every year? And on
Hmm.
top of that, they can probably reuse the same one. But if you have the broader customer base, or everybody like a regular person sitting at home using Meta AI, you can kind of be creative in it, you know, like
Yeah.
maybe sell ads in there, maybe do upgrades or whatever. But
Yeah. And I've seen like, with with the Apple Vision Pro, like you can like watch movies,
yeah,
like you
yeah,
can
yeah,
like, feel like you're at a courtside basketball game. Like those are like, again, I keep looking at these like niche use cases.
yeah,
I still don't believe like augmented reality is going to be a widely adopted thing. Not yet.
just
Like I
yet.
really,
Yep, yep,
yeah, I really don't see it yet. And again, maybe like you said, we might be a couple of years too early.
yep, yep.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know.
We'll see, man. I think it'll come back later, but you know, we'll see. Let's go to what is it, CoreWave? I think it's
Oh, Core
CoreWave.
Weave. Whew.
CoreWeave. I mean, that thing is on a crazy run. So just to give you guys a background, let me see. Let me go 12 months. Just this year, the low on that thing was $33.52. This year, they what is it? Did they IPO in March
Yeah, they
of
IPO'd
20?
it at like $40. Yep.
Yeah, and now they're sitting at $166. Like that is ridiculous. You understand? I was like, where was I at?
So when CoreWeave was about to go public, I sent out a very detailed description about the company to our investment group. And I didn't want to buy at the IPO price because one of the things that I looked at when I went through their S1 was that they were heavily leveraged, lots of debt on their books. So I said I wanted the price to come down a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And the price, so someone in our group asked about it. Shout out to Shane, when it was trading near like 33-ish.
Mm-hmm.
And I said I wanted it to get to 30. And I had an order to buy shares at around $30. Never got to 30.
Never got to it.
And every time and the thing that made me so mad was because when it got to 33.52, I think for the next couple of days, it traded in like the 30, 40 range, like near the IPO price for a couple of days. It consolidated, but I never pulled the trigger because I wanted it to pull back. And since that day, it never looked back.
Nope.
And it has been on a crazy run. And the crazy thing is, I probably could have bought it at like 60 and still been good. Probably could have bought it at 50 and still been good.
That's crazy, man.
That stock has now risen to $166. He also asked me a question a couple days ago. He was like, it's technically overbought because the RSI on that thing is hot, hot.
Listen, with
And
those
I
type of
told
stock, the
him,
RSI can stay up as long as he wants.
and I told him, I says, the RSI is hot, but that's not enough for me to go to a short position.
Yeah.
I'd like to see it create lower lows and lower highs. Bruh. I think it had one day where it kind of sold off pretty badly. I think that day was, let me look at the chart. Yeah, that bearish three candle on 529.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just took off.
I mean, that's this chart. Even if you go to the daily chart, it's just like every
It's
day
crazy.
it was running.
It's crazy. I know that they're very important in the whole data center story. I
Yep.
think they are very heavily dependent on NVIDIA as well.
Yep.
But the one thing that, and they had an earnings report not too long ago. Didn't really, I think it sold off initially. And then the next thing I knew it just took off. It seems that the investors are not really worried about the debt load on the company. So,
Nope. I
but
mean,
this is one that I'm watching, and if I get a pullback, I'm ready to get in.
that's crazy, man. But if, for those of you who don't know, like this company, it was founded in 2017 initially, and they didn't go IPO until this year. They actually headquarters in Livingston, New Jersey. I'm like, who the hell have a company in Livingston, New Jersey? But yeah, Livingston, New Jersey. They specialize in high performance GPU cloud infrastructure tailored for AI workloads. And some of their key clients, guess that. Listen to this: Microsoft,
Yep.
OpenAI,
Yep.
Meta, and IBM. So they have some big clients. And their strategic partner is NVIDIA. NVIDIA owns 7% stake in CoreWeave.
And I think that another reason why the stock took off was when people saw that NVIDIA did not sell their stake in CoreWeave. They were like, if NVIDIA believes in this company, I believe in this company.
Yep.
But this is what did not allow me to pull the trigger. They're not profitable yet. So in 2024, they were not profitable, and they have about 13 billion in debt, which is costing them about $1 billion a year in interest payments. So they've got debt that is costing them $1 billion just to pay the interest. Then it says they only make about $2 billion in revenue. So when I looked at the debt to revenue ratio based on that stock price, I said this thing needs to come down a little bit more before I become a buyer. My target was 30, and I was $3 away from that number. So
that's crazy.
This is where my patience did not pay off. But yeah, CoreWeave is definitely a company I'll be paying attention to. But that debt to me is still something that I'm a little bit. I mean, you're paying $1 billion in debt. You're only making $2 billion in revenue.
Yeah.
I need to see better revenue numbers to in order for me to be a buyer. But investors don't care. They don't care.
Nope. As long as they see something, they just go for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, man. That's definitely a move that we all missed, man. Because I wasn't even paying attention to them at all. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, I put this out on 3/23 and gave my thesis, and
I completely missed that one.
Yeah, it was a good thesis that it would come below the IPO price, but yeah, not to my target. So
that's crazy, man. So finally, again, your man Elon is back on the news, man. So just to give you guys some back on this. So last week, I think it was last week that he said that he's not coming back to the Doge. Well, he's coming back. He's going to be like maybe like on a need on per need basis, right?
Hmm.
But then the one big beautiful act, I was like, who names a bill?
The one big beautiful bill.
Oh my god, like that is crazy. But he has some sweeping tax and spending proposal championed by President Trump. Now, Elon has been a big opponent to this act. So he's basically saying like it's he called it disgusting abomination.
Yes.
So
He did not mince
no,
his words.
he basically saying like this is not a good bill because it's going to add a lot more money into the spending into the the debt that we already have, right? He said that he warned that the continued deficit spending bill will burden future generations and drive up interest rate. And his comment just basically sparked all the debate online. uh People basically like saying, hey, when it comes to fiscal responsibility, that's something that this administration probably don't have. And you can kind of see where he's coming from. Like, so Doge was supposed to be Department of Government Efficiency, right? So his whole point was to save money for the government. So that kind of undermine all the works that he did, basically. Like,
Hmm.
hey, I worked so hard to trying to get you guys to save money, but then you adding more money on top of it. So that's kind of like Doge is
Counterproductive.
yeah, Doge is no longer a thing now. You know what I mean? So we shut down a lot of essential departments basically, and we like, hey, the states can handle it from the government perspective, but now you adding more debt on top of what we're supposed to be saving. So what's up with that? You know what I mean? So kind of talk a little bit about that. What's the effect of that? Elon speaking out on the stocks and how the investors feel about it.
So what I have been, and I've been saying this for years actually, is that I don't think any administration in the last 16 or 12 years has had any sort of fiscal responsibility when it comes
No,
to the budget.
nope.
Um, the fiscal responsibility just as a country has just been very responsible. And I kind of get it during crisis events. Like we had the
Mm-hmm.
financial crisis in 2008, 2009. We had COVID in 2020. But moving forward, it's like, okay, we've been fiscally responsible. Let's now try to change the narrative. And I think
Right.
that's what Elon was on a mission to do, was to change the narrative about the spending.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem that I see, it's just basic economics, right? It's basic economics. If you are in a deficit, which means that you are spending more than you're bringing in, cutting taxes is counterproductive because you're cutting your main source of revenue.
Right.
So the fact that they're cutting taxes, trying to use tariffs to offset some of that, and also cutting spending, and they're still going to add to the deficit, tells me somebody doesn't know how to count.
It don't make no sense.
Because my thing is, okay, if you're saying we need to use tariffs to offset our deficit, that makes sense, right?
Right. Right.
But you also need to increase personal income taxes, business taxes. But Trump refuses to do that, obviously, because a lot of his constituents and the people that he kind of rubs shoulders with probably won't like that. But it's needed because what other way do you have to create revenue to offset the deficit? And I also think that Elon was kind of mad because I think in that bill, they were going to take away some of the EV credits that Tesla makes money on. So
Yeah.
Tesla makes about what, 1.2, $1.3 billion a year in EV credits.
Yep.
So I think when they were talking about taking that off, he wasn't happy about that. So he was talking about it as well. So I don't know. I look at it from a simple economics perspective, not from a political perspective. And I'll be honest with you, both parties have been fiscally responsible over the last
Responsible.
couple years.
Absolutely.
Both
Absolutely.
parties, because if you go
Yep.
look at how much debt has been added to the deficit every year, it doesn't matter who's in office. It's just
Exactly.
it's everybody's just kind of like, let's just spend money.
Yep.
So when you look at it from that perspective and you just look at the numbers, you got to increase the revenue. And tariffs are bringing in more revenue, which is good if you're trying to cut a deficit. But the other caveat that is you have to raise taxes. You
Yeah.
just have
Yeah.
to. There's no other way around it. Or you got to find all the money that the Pentagon is losing that they can't find.
Yeah, bro, they ain't gonna do no investigation
Yeah,
with that one,
so
man.
that's one place. I mean, if you're Doge, that's one place you need to look for
Let's
waste.
let's
Like,
stay clear. Let's stay clear from that. They're probably
yeah,
like, nope, you ain't coming here touching nothing because
hmm
we don't want you finding stuff. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But what you're saying is makes sense, right? So it's like if you're in a household, let's say America is your household, right? If you bring in more, if you bring in less money than you're spending, that's a big problem. You always gonna be broke. You know what I mean? And on top of that, you want to spend more than what you so you added more debt to your household. So
and you want to work less. You want to
and
bring
you
in
want to
less
work
income.
less.
You want to bring in
Exactly.
less income.
So
That's counterproductive.
it doesn't make sense.
That's
Like,
counterproductive. And this is why I keep trying to tell people why the bond market is so important because
Mhm.
the US makes the difference in their deficit by raising money in the bond market.
Yep.
So the bond market has to work for this cycle to work. It has to work. But the problem is if rates continue to stay high and the US has to continue to issue money at a higher interest rate, their net interest expense that they have to pay out every year to keep the debt going
Yeah.
continues to go
To go up. Yep.
up.
Yep.
So I know the 10 years at 4.2. I think it's come down from about 4.5. So it's come down a little bit. But if the 10 year starts getting to 4.5 and the 20 year starts getting to 5, I mean that to me is a problem for the whole entire budget.
Yep.
I'm actually surprised that the Moody's downgrade on the debt wasn't more.
Mhm.
And I actually would not be surprised if Standard and Poor's and Finch come back and downgrade them another tick.
Yeah.
Because I mean, just look at it from a credit report rating, right? If I'm a consumer and I have a 600, let's just say I have a 700 credit score, and you've docked me now to 650, right? But over the last decade, I've had more debt. My debt load has gone up. What are you supposed to do? You're supposed to
Yeah.
dock me again,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So I would not be surprised if they get docked again because again, if this bill passes, and I know Scott Bessent came out and said that the U.S. will never default on its debt, which basically means if we need to print more money,
We're
we got to
gonna
print
pay
more money,
more, which devalue your money, all of that stuff. So it's like
and that just hurts the consumer. So it's a nasty cycle,
it's a
but
terrible
no one
cycle.
is bold enough to do what needs to be done to really, really, really cut the deficit. Again, the last time the budget was balanced was Clinton.
Mm-hmm.
That's the last time. That's the last fiscally responsible administration that was able to balance the budget, and they were very targeted in what they did by making the government smaller.
Mm-hmm.
But people also forget that they raised taxes.
Taxes. Yep.
The Clinton administration raised taxes.
Yep.
But if you
Yep.
look at how the market performed during his administration, I mean, you can't knock the you can't knock the method that they used.
Yep.
It was very strategic, it was
Yep.
very smart. And to me, again, it was just basic economics. We have debt, we need to raise more money, we need to cut expenses. Plain
Simple.
and simple.
Yep.
Plain and simple.
Yep. Yep.
So, but I highly doubt that we'll ever get back to that. I know Doge was trying to make the government smaller, which is a good first step,
Yeah.
but you have to raise taxes. I'm sorry.
And you can't spend more. Like
Nope.
you can't
You can't
spend
spend
more.
more.
And
You
this is what
cannot
this
spend
bill is
more.
basically trying to do. So the bill basically passed the House. Now it's in the Senate floor. So we'll see what the Senate do with it. I mean, I don't know. It might not pass. It might pass. We have no idea. So we'll
Yeah,
see.
we don't know. We'll see. But
Yeah.
I know that there's different versions of the bill that keep going from
Yeah.
But to me, at the end of the day, it's all politicians wanting their own personal agendas in those
Oh
bills.
yeah. Oh yeah. Everybody's and they're probably not reading the whole thing. They're probably just looking whatever impact their
Yeah,
state,
what
whatever impact
impact
their pockets.
their state, their pockets, their friends'
That's it.
pockets. Yeah, that's
That's
it.
it. Everybody and a lot of times what you guys gotta know, like those politicians don't even read those stuff. They have analysts that go read it and they give them cliff notes. Like this is what's happening. This is not good for you when it comes
And
to
I'm
this.
pretty sure we get to a point where AI is going to start reading it to them.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. AI, lobbies, everybody's reading that stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, man. But remaining for this week, we have tomorrow, we have a bunch of earnings. Broadcam, AVGO is reporting tomorrow, MongoDB, Lululemon. I think I might short Lululemon. I don't know. We'll see. DocuSign is also reporting after the market tomorrow. So there's a bunch of good one in there. I'll definitely want to keep an eye on Lululemon to see exactly where we end up, to see how the tariff impacted them, or if their sale go down, anything like that. But definitely want to keep an eye on that one. But apart from that, we also have the U.S. non-farm payrolls report coming up.
Friday.
While it's not an earnings report, I mean, this is a made jobs data is significant, right, for economic event that maybe could influence how the market looks at, at how the stock moves, So we'll see how the market sentiments come regarding expectations, and we'll see if this is going to even impact the Federal Reserve policy. Let's see what the numbers looks like, if that's going to force
Yeah.
them a little bit. So we
I will
shall see.
also say that the number that they're expecting is a lot lower than the number that they got in April. So if
Mm,
I'm not mistaken, let me go back to my notes if I can find it real quick.
I might be swinging puts going into Friday.
Uh, where is it? Yeah, I can't find it. Oh, let me see.
You looking for April's number?
Yeah, I was looking for what April's number was and what they're expecting for May. But I know that they're expecting a lower number than April. I think April was what, 177,000?
Yep, 177,000. Yep,
There we go. And then
yep.
they're expecting, I think, like 125 for May, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, if we dip below that expectation,
To me, again, I've been saying this. The economy is contracting.
hmm,
The stock market just has not
hasn't caught up yet.
reacted to it.
It hasn't caught up yet.
And which is perfectly fine. But the key, I think, that could derail the momentum that I always keep an eye on is the consumer. Unemployment, if unemployment starts to tick up,
Mm-hmm.
because we saw what happened last year when we had that brief scare.
Yep,
We had
yep.
that brief scare. If we ever see a trend, like let's say we go from 4.2 to 4.4, then 4.4 to 4.6, or 4.6 to 4.8. If we start a trend, that
Mm-hmm.
to me is what can derail the market.
Yep,
Because
yep.
at that point, consumer spending is probably going to go down. Debt loads and people are not going to be able to pay their bills. All that stuff is going to affect the economy in general. But so far, we haven't seen a trend. We've kind of just been hovering around 4.1, 4.2, and it's kind of been remaining steady there. So to me, the unemployment number is a very, very important number. And from what I heard, the Fed is expecting unemployment to get to at least 4.4. So they're expecting it to uptick a little bit going into the end of this year. That's
I
their
believe it.
expectation.
Yep.
We'll just have to wait and see if that's something that's going to be enough to kind of rattle the feathers of the market. But right now, so far, nothing
Yep.
has nothing has spooked the market. I mean, every dip I have seen, the speed at which it has gotten bought, like earlier this morning, the market opened high, then you saw that real big drop in like the first 15 minutes.
Yep.
Within seconds,
Everything got
buyers
back.
came in.
Yep.
And I was fortunate enough to be in Tesla, which did not get bought up right away. But if you would have had SPY or QQQ, you would
Yep.
have stayed just a couple minutes too long, and you had like same day expirations. You could have gave back a
You
lot
could
of
have.
profit
Yep. Yep.
quickly.
Yep. Absolutely. But yeah, man. So we'll see. We'll see how the numbers looks like on Friday. I have a feeling we're gonna see a drop, but we'll shall see. But yeah, any last advice going into this week, man? I know we have another episode on Friday after that data drop, so we'll see how the market reacts to that. But any advice going into next week?
Only advice I would say, I think, just going back to that CoreWeave trade is, RSI is a very, very good indicator to tell whether a stock is overbought or oversold. But a 70 RSI does not mean a stock will pull back. There can be enough momentum in that stock for that thing to go to 90 or
Yep.
80 or higher because yeah. So if you're a
Yeah.
trader and you kind of look at RSI, don't solely use RSI as your indicator of whether or not you want to short a stock or not. There has to be other things on other time frames that you look at to kind of give you an idea whether or not to do that. Because if you try to short CoreWeave when the RSI hit 70, you got smoked.
You got smoked long
Yeah,
time.
you got smoked. So, I'm telling you, CoreWeave, what's the RSI on that right now? Let me see.
It's probably like over 90. Shoot.
It's probably over 90 now. Let's see. RSI. Waiting for it to load. Yeah, the RSI on that bad boy is 81 right now.
Mm.
And I think it hit a high of 84 at one point. And I think it dipped below 70 in one day. And then
Mm-hmm.
since then it's been overbought. So, and based on the chart, it looks like it can still run,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is crazy.
Because there's
So
no like levels you can pay attention to right now. You really
correct.
have
Yes,
to
because
like,
it's a new stock.
yeah.
It's hitting uncharted territory.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like, as far as resistance is concerned, you really don't have any other references to look at because
Yep.
it's never been at 166. It's never been at 100 until just recently. So,
Right.
you don't really have any past reference points that you can look at. So, be very, very cautious when you're trying to short a stock that has this much momentum behind it.
Yep. Yep.
Tesla was like that a couple years ago because
Oh,
I got
Tesla
smoked.
used to move like crazy.
I got smoked by Tesla because of that years ago when I thought it was a little bit too hot and I was like, yeah, I'm going to short it. No. So I
And
just want to give that nugget out there for today.
all right, y'all. Well, if you found today's episode helpful, please make sure you guys subscribe to the show, share with your peoples, and follow us on social media for any more notes and breakdown of the market. But
Oh,
yeah.
one last thing that we'll probably catch this on Friday. Facebook signed a 20-year agreement for nuclear
Yes.
power with Constellation Energy, which again just goes on to highlight our point we've been talking about, that nuclear is going to play a
Yep.
very integral role in the whole AI data center story. So
I
we'll talk
really,
about
I really,
we'll
I
talk
really
about
hope
that
people are
Friday.
listening, bro. I really, 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 really hope people are listening. It's like it's because that's for me. That's like one of those things that like people might not pay attention to. Like why would people start talking about energy and all this stuff? It's like it is a really needed thing in this day and age, especially the power of AI and all the energy needs. Like it is so much needed right now, and we've been talking about it, and it's still early. I honestly think it's still early, right? Because none of this stuff is operational just yet. But imagine
Yeah.
once it comes to operational, how much more companies can now expand and be able to like build even more powerful. Like it's such a big deal that I really hope people are listening. I really, really hope so.
And
Because
I just want people to understand this, that you don't have AI data centers without energy. You
no, you
cannot.
cannot. You cannot.
You
And
cannot.
you mentioned it, like we cannot use the existing grid right now today.
No. Mm-mm.
Well, if we want
Today's
to
grid,
expand,
yeah, today's
we
grid can't handle it. No.
nope. If we want to expand it, we can't. We
So
we have
if
to use
it's
something else.
correct, if Facebook is willing to commit 20 years
Yeah.
to nuclear energy,
Yeah.
like that means it's serious.
It is very
It's
serious.
serious. So, yeah, I think Constellation has a plant, I think, in Indiana or somewhere. I don't know where
Mm-hmm.
their plant is that they're committed to, but we saw other names. Microsoft basically did the same thing a couple months ago. So
Yep. Yep.
I really think that it's going to be something that's going to be part of the AI story. I've decided to play it through the small modular reactor story.
Mhm.
But there's definitely other ways that you can, be a part of that. But yeah, it goes hand in hand. The
Yeah.
three key pieces to AI outside of the technology sector, to me, are going to be cybersecurity
Mm-hmm.
and power.
Yep.
Cybersecurity and power. You know, I know Nvidia gets all the attention. Nvidia gets all of the hoopla because they make the chips, and there's other companies that build the networks and all that stuff. But everything goes hand in hand with power and cybersecurity as well. So
Yep. Yep. So
I'll
pay
leave on
attention to
that.
that.
I'll leave on that note.
Pay attention to that. I'm telling y'all, in a year or two from now, you're gonna be like, "Whoa, these guys talked about this," you know. And we talked about Aklo from when it
We
was
seen what happened with
$5.
Aklo. Yeah, we seen what happened with Aklo from 5 to 59 in the matter of less than a year.
Yeah, that's
So
1,000% right there. Like
yeah,
that's crazy.
and we're talking about a stock movement, not options,
Not
which is
options.
crazy.
That's just stocks.
That's just a stock.
Yeah. But anyways, y'all, we will talk to you guys on Friday. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Please subscribe. Please share with other people. And we will be back on Friday to talk about how the market reacted to the payroll and some of the other stocks that we talked about that will be reporting earnings tomorrow after market. So with that being said, y'all have a good night. We will see you.